Live at Tim Hogan, back with us today. Still a little bit under the weather. Tim can talk more about that if he wishes. I respect all HIPAA considerations on this program, but delighted for you all to join the morning meeting here on Tuesday, August 27th. We're going to talk about the state of the presidential race, whether you're watching on YouTube Live or here on the two-way platform. We're delighted to have you be part of our effort at peace, love, and understanding, here to educate, not to fight or insult, although I may have something to say about Tim's shirt at some point. All right. So today, another day of the vice president off the trail, her fifth day in a row with no live public event. She's doing a video to a church group meeting in Columbus, Ohio, but otherwise no public events. As far as I know, Donald Trump has no public events either. Tomorrow, she starts her bus trip with her vice presidential nominee in Georgia, and Donald Trump is in Wisconsin. So tomorrow will be a more active day for them. JD Vance is in Michigan, Grand Rapids, or Big Rapids, Michigan, rather, giving a speech on the economy at 1:30 Eastern Time. Doug Emhoff is in New York, New York. So nice they named it twice, raising money, which he does quite regularly and well. So, guys, I want to first talk about the Harris interview. Still don't know who it's with. People are now floating the notion of, she said she'd schedule an interview by the end of the month, not hold one. Tim, if that happened, if she didn't do an interview till September, would there be a backlash, or no one cares except for 40 reporters?
I mean, there would be a backlash, but I think it would be from 40 reporters and Republicans. I think at the end of the day, it probably would not matter if it slipped, to Labor Day weekend or past Labor Day. But I would not be surprised if we don't hear news very shortly here about that interview being scheduled and getting done by the end of the week. I know that as we approach the deadline, that's what the obsession is, but I don't think it really matters.
All right. If you'd like to get in the conversation, please raise your hand. As always, we love returning regulars. We also like new people. So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. Sean Spicer, what's your view of the debate about the interview? And I'm going to ask you both, Sean, first, in your answer. Who's your money on to get the interview?
I just can't believe. I mean, this is amazing. I started the week. Axios and others were firm in this. This is the week she does a debate, as if they knew. And I agree with you. They're going to weasel out of this thing and announce that they have scheduled a debate for November 4th. Interview.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, it blows my mind that this is where we are, that the party of democracy refuses to engage with the press and the press is willing to accept it. This is state TV. I get a kick out of where we are, the narrative of this campaign, that is the situation where a party that embraces democracy as the bedrock that is under attack, and the media goes nuts, but does not do any significant pushback. Eugene Daniels, as I mentioned, who's the head of the White House Correspondents Association, has been silent on this because he gets his tips from, I mean, like, it is unreal what's happening, and yet no one except for Republicans and conservative media cares. I will pivot. If I had to do there, and I'm being completely honest on this because I thought about this a lot. If I were her, and we don't need to go into all this, but I mean, ABC is doing the debate, so I have a hard time thinking you want to give it to them. I would go to Kristen Welker or Willie Geist, and I'll tell you why. I think they'll both give you your softball interview. No one in the media will give you any backlash. None. They cannot criticize their own. And if you want to talk about two people who will make sure that you are coddled and taken care of, Welker and Geist, to me, I would probably go with Welker, but no one in the media would criticize you. And so take that, call it a win, and check a box.
If this interview goes to a white man, I will eat Tim's shirt right off his body. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, look, Sean, it's only Tuesday on August 27th. We have a full week to go here. I don't know what you're so worried about. Look, I think there have been a couple ideas floated. I think Ashley Etienne, who is the former senior comms advisor for Harris in the White House, floated the idea of Gayle King. I don't think that is a bad idea. I agree with Sean. I don't think it can go to like a David Muir. I think a possibility is a Lester Holt, although I think unlikely. Maybe someone like a Savannah Guthrie. I think there are a whole bunch of options that they have in front of them. Everyone's chomping at the bit for it. I don't think there's one right answer here. I think there are
I would tell you this. Can I make one point? Because I saw that comment that Ashley made. I get that. I have no problems with. I mean, I like Gail as a person. So it's not, I don't think that might cause a little backlash in terms of the journalistic chops. I don't feel like she's in the same tent that a Welker is, meaning Welker's part of the political ecosystem, the political reporting ecosystem. And so I maybe I'm wrong on this, but if I were them, I would check the box and give myself the least amount of blowback back as possible. I agree with, I think Gail would be great, but I think that you could probably, there'd be some pushback on that one.
The correct answer is Welker. All right. Issue 2, debate about debates. Again, if you'd like to get in the conversation, please raise your hands. And we'd love some new folks with hands up today, if possible. You can ask about whatever you want. So there was really no movement, as far as I know, in the debate about debates yesterday. We started with discrepancies about who was asking for what, whatever. Donald Trump seems like he's going to, has backed off the notion of he's just not going to do it. But do you guys agree there will be a debate on the 10th? It will be on ABC. They'll be standing behind podiums. Mics will be off when they're not speaking. It's basically going to be the same as the CNN debate. Everybody agree with that?
No.
No? What do you think, Sean?
It is going to happen. It will be on ABC. The mics will be on. They will came
I
that.
agree.
Really?
I tend to agree. I think like I think the dig from the Harris campaign, and Sean, I'm sure you have a thought on this, like seems right that they agreed to having the mics off. But Donald Trump didn't even seem super aware that was the case or the agreement for this upcoming debate. And I also think that he probably wants the mic to be on. He's obviously got a very chaotic style. He talked about it yesterday about how well we have the ground rules we had from before, but I think push comes to shove, he's going to want the mic.
So you both think it's the same as the CNN debate with that one exception. Otherwise, it's all the same. No opening statement. No notes.
I mean, yeah, and I would just say, look, I think this isn't, again, sorry, angry leprechaun Sean on a Tuesday, but I think that this idea that Trump had to buy into everything that Biden agreed to. Biden was his opponent, not Harris. And now Harris folks get to change the rules isn't crazy. It is what it is. I mean, again, I don't want to get this fired up this early in the morning. It's insane how the game is being played, but it is what it is. And I will spare you my early morning vitriol.
I do think I think the debate may actually be a less success. I mean, I'm making a wild prediction here, but like if they go in with mics on, I think it will be a less successful debate for the public. But I also think it is a way that Trump will demonstrate his chaos on stage again to the public. So I think that is the trade-off.
Tim, I think that's the bleach you injected talking. All right.
No
All right. Lastly, if you could get for free a detailed battleground state poll of one of the 7 states right now, not just horse race, but lots of crosstabs and other questions, which state would it be and why? Tim.
I mean, my gut just says Nevada, but I really don't want to say Nevada. I think my answer is actually Pennsylvania. For the simple reason that Nevada, because like we just don't have enough good information there, and there's not never, but there's very rarely good polling there.
Yeah.
But I think Pennsylvania, just because of the number of electoral votes that are at stake there seems to be a gap between what's happening in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, and I know a little bit more about why.
Yeah, Sean?
I'll split the cost with Tim. We'll do Pennsylvania. If Pennsylvania goes to Trump, the grace is over.
Wrong. The answer is North Carolina, because that is where the Harris campaign right now is really focused on picking off a Sunbelt state. And I'm super curious to see, because the public polling totally confuses me. All right, let's go to your questions.
Again, you can win. You can lose North Carolina, win Pennsylvania, and still win.
Correct. Look, I'd like all 7. Let's be honest. Let's go to you, folks. We're going to start with Mr. Graham. Tell us where you are, who you're supporting, if anyone, and what's on your mind. Michael Graham, join us.
As you know, Mark, I'm with New Hampshire Journal up here. I just want to let everyone know I'm in the media. Nobody cares that Kamala Harris is not doing interviews. Nobody cares about the media. I've been trying to figure it out. And just, anecdotally, we're a center-right outlet in New Hampshire. I have literally been thrown out of press conferences because we're center-right. And the answer from the New Hampshire Press Association is we don't care. And I think one reason, Mark, is because of what you're doing, which is people have so many ways to get their information now. Like I've talked, I'm a big whiny baby. So I whine baby to my Republican friends. I'm like, what do we care? We get, we read you, we get your newsletter, we know what's going on. And so I really believe that this premise that Americans have that there needs to be a Mr. Smith goes to Washington moment and you've got to stand in face of people. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe old people think that, but there is no at all.
Okay.
No person
All
who's
right.
going to say I won't vote. Now, second thing about
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, there's something going on that's interesting. We own Delaware Valley Journal, and there's a real move for Republican voter registration that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention. We've written about it several times. I forget the guy's name. He's the Pied Piper of Republican voting. He's got like really, he looks like a hit long like hair. I'm starting spacing his name. But for example, Bucks County, they now have more registered Republicans than Democrats for the first time since 2007. They're closing the mark statewide. And there is all the other states, when you talk about how terrible the Republican organizations are, that's a great point. Not Pennsylvania. And if it's close, there is enough of an actual old-fashioned Republican vote thing that you might want to keep in mind. I just wanted to share that, Mark. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, man. All right, Sean, Tim, thoughts on those two?
I would just say on the press thing, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a reason that they're getting away with what they are, is because they know they can. So that's why I agree with you. It's ridiculous, but it's reality. So I think you're absolutely right. And I do think that, to your point, Scott Pressler and a bunch of others have been doing a lot of voter reg in Pennsylvania. It is a great story. I had Dan Muser, the congressman from the central area, not too long ago, same thing. So I think you're absolutely right. That may be the untold story of Pennsylvania's success.
Yeah.
So now,
on the media thing, I think like the interviews coming, I think, Mark, you've made this point previously, is like, yeah, the pressure has built up here for the campaign to do something, but the people who are in charge of making this decision know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to not do it. They will just do it until the pressure builds to a point where it's got to be done. And it will be done. And look, it also is not the case that Donald Trump is running around giving interviews to non-fanboy outlets significantly, as well. So there's not a ton of ground to stand on the other side.
True. All right. Let's bring in the law firm of Martin and Martin, Elgin Martin. Elgin, you first. Tell everybody where you are, who you're supporting, what's on, and hold on, what's on your mind. Just tell everybody where you are, who you're supporting, and then your cousin will do the same. Hold on. You're I can't hear you. You're unmuted, but you've got a problem on your end. So see if you can fix that. And let's go to Courtney. Courtney, remind folks who don't know where you are and who you're supporting, please.
Good morning, Mark. I'm from Georgia, and I'm a Trump supporter.
Hold on. Now, Elgin, try one more time.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
awesome. I'm Elgin, and I am in the great state of Maryland here. And I will be supporting democracy and the future of our children, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
All right. So Martin versus Martin, you two have it out. Courtney, why don't you ask Elgin a question, whatever you'd like?
Do you think it's going to end up being a bad thing for Harris that she's avoiding being interviewed? I feel like it's putting so much pressure on her. I think she should just go ahead and get it over with and get it over with. One and done. Get it over with. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I want to applaud the Republicans for this. This is a complete right-wing talking point that appeals to the press. And so it's been picked up and you're repeating it over and over again, and you're making something that is nothing, something. I don't think it matters that she doesn't interview. Normal people don't care. I think she will end up doing an interview, guys. I think she'll end up doing an interview with a white man, probably, y'all.
No, will not be.
If not, it'll be like Lester Holt or Kristen Wilker. I mean, let's be real. Like, there's a slight bias for the Democrats in the media, but they do not hold Republicans to the same standard at all. They are not asking Trump about his detailed policies. They're not referencing all the independent economists who have gone through his economic plan and show that the tariffs would raise prices at the grocery store, our electric bills, everything. Like, they are not holding these candidates to the same standard. You may think so because you're in the right-wing bubble, but it's not true.
Elgin, what question do you have for Courtney? Remembering the presumption of grace we all extend here to everybody.
Of course. No. I guess the question I have for you is, what is your viewpoint on our foreign policy and sort of how Trump would, in detail, how he would sort of calm what's going on in the world? Like, what would he actually do other than being a strong man?
Well, I think his main thing is he wants no new wars. I think he wants to get us out of any involvement we're in overseas, and he doesn't want to have any new wars start, which he didn't. And I haven't heard her policies about her plans for her, policies overseas. And have you?
So there were boots on the ground during the Trump administration. There were battles being fought all across the world. Kamala Harris believes in supporting democracy, supporting our alliances, supporting Ukraine, supporting democracy across the world. Trump does not believe in democracy. He does not believe in freedom. He believes in authoritarian dictators, in Putin, and supporting Kim Jong-un.
All right, hold on. All right, I want to do one more thing with you two, and see if this will work. Courtney, you first. What's a topic on which Donald Trump is either not being honest with the American people or not being clear that you think he should be honest or clear on? It's one topic.
I was thinking yesterday, something I don't think he's really talking about that he's missing out on is our withdrawal from Afghanistan. I mean, it was yesterday. I keep thinking, when's he going to put out a commercial with the airplane with people hanging on it?
But I'm asking, what's something you don't think he's being honest about or clear
honest about? Oh gosh. Okay. Oh dear. I don't know.
Elgin, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's something the vice president is not being honest about or clear enough about? Anything?
Yeah, I'm ready. So
go ahead.
I think the price gouging narrative is complete political theater. I think Kamala Harris has shown in her record that she is a centrist, pro-corporate, pro-business Democrat. It's clear if you actually have been listening to the reporting and have been following her career.
So you're saying she's pretending she'd be left-wing, but she's actually corporatist?
Yeah, I think she's very centrist. I think she's a very centrist Democrat. I'm really disappointed with the 2019 campaign. I've always loved her. I've been a fan of her since her Senate days, since she was a DA in California. I'm from California. But I think that campaign was her trying to listen to her sister and appeal to the activist class when we thought that that's where the Democratic Party was going. Now we understand that that's not the case.
That's an awesome answer. Sean, question for either Martin.
Well, I would just say this to Elgin. I mean, you mentioned that he hasn't been pressed on the details of his plans. Number one, it's he has plans versus her not having plans. So I mean, you can quibble with the level of detail that he might go into, which I would still disagree with, but she hasn't put out anything. Number two, he held a press conference where he took 37 questions over 64 minutes. If they didn't ask it, that's not his fault. That's theirs. Lastly, I just want to read you this from Axios. Hold on. I want to read you this from Axios, not The Onion. This is Axios this morning. If she's elected, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called un-American during the Trump administration.
That item is ridiculous, Sean.
Okay. If you read by the way, she's also unveiling a new slogan this morning called "Make America Great Again." This is crazy. Between the no tax on tips, the $5,000 per child tax credit, and now wanting to build a wall. You want to talk about not being she has been on every side of every issue. She makes John Kerry look like principled.
Kamala has been supporting a strong border since she was in California as AG. She prosecuted transnational gangs. You can laugh all you want, but the facts are there. Kamala Harris has been supportive of Biden administration's crackdown on the border. We have had the lowest border crossings in years. This is data. So there has been some.
Hold on. Tim, you have a question for Martin or a comment on a Martin?
Just take the win, brother.
No, look, I'd be just very quickly on Sean's point, it's never not been the Democratic position that there needs to be comprehensive immigration reform. That has been the whole approach to the way to fix the system. It is what we almost got done, right, in 2013, if not for John Boehner not putting it up for a vote, even though the votes were there in the House and it passed a Republican or a bipartisan way in the Senate. It is what Joe Biden proposed at the beginning of his administration, is what we partially tried to pass in the bipartisan border bill. Republicans just keep killing it. They keep playing Lucy with the football with the issue.
May I just say, I'm sorry, excuse me, Tim.
I didn't ask.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead. That's right. Courtney, go ahead.
Excuse me, Tim, I'm so glad you're better. I knew you were sick on Friday. I knew it. I called it. But anyways, what I was calling for was I was so disgusted by the interview with Kristen Welker on Sunday with J.D. Vance. And I would like to, and I'm a big fan of hers, always loved her. But would she talk and do an interview with Coach Wall like that? Now, be honest, Mark.
No, she
What were
would
you
not.
disgusted about? I'm curious what were you
Oh, I thought she was rude, aggressive, interrupted him, would not let him finish a sentence. And I really, really like her. I've,
Well,
I've,
you
I've
So I'm
see,
loved,
hearing characterizations, but what specific questions and moments were you offended
she
by?
wouldn't let him answer a question. And she kept,
right.
he would say, I'm not going to put a veto on abortion. You know, I'm not going to stop abortion. And she just like wouldn't take his answer.
All right,
She wouldn't.
Martin, hold on,
Sorry.
hold on, hold
Okay.
on,
Sorry.
hold on. Thank you both, Martins. Please come back regularly. Grateful to you. Brandon, remind everybody where
Yes.
you are, who you're supporting, and floor is yours, sir.
So I'm in Northwest Indiana. Felt kind of ashamed about voting last time, so I've registered and I'm going to go forward this time. And if I wasn't so starstruck by Sean Spicer, I probably would have answered when you asked me who who I'd want to be president. Tulsi Gabbard, fellow Hawaiian, seems to hold a lot of my views, and it goes both ways. So that endorsement was actually really huge for me. And the big Joe Rogan podcast contingent, I see what Trump is doing by doing interviews with Theo Vaughn and going out there. He's really tapping into a contingent that's out there that are people who are like me, who are probably unlikely to vote, but are now listening. And these are the formats that we listen more for entertainment rather than information. And I think it could play very well and not necessarily show up in polling. What a question I had was for both Tim and Sean. Why has nobody come out and said anything about federal legalization of marijuana? That seems to be a popular issue and low hanging fruit in a sense. Is it a bridge too far for Republicans? Is it too left for Democrats? I was kind of wondering why this never came out.
Great question. Guys, go nuts on this. High times.
It is a great question because not to get into it, but the banking laws at the federal level are what make this a big issue. I will just tell you, I think it's still a big issue for a lot of older Republicans. And if you look at high propensity voters, you're going to find that it's disproportionate to the people who don't like this issue. Trump personally, I don't think is supportive of the issue. He's very, very anti-drugs and alcohol as a person. Not that he's anti-alcohol, but I just don't see that being a persuasive thing for him to as an issue. I'll let Tim take it up from the Dem side because I just don't know. I think it's one of those issues that the people who are with you are already with you. You're not going to persuade anybody.
Yeah, Tim, you've got people in your party like Senator Schumer who are just completely gung ho on this issue. Why isn't it something that the Democratic nominee would champion?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think part of the reason up until now, right, has been who's been in the White House, right, and Joe Biden's approach to it personally. Although I will say this administration and Harris being part of this administration, they have moved to do some federal reclassification of it, so it's not treated as harshly. So there's agency work that's been directed by the president and vice president to move. The question is does she stake out a more liberal position on it? I guess I don't know. Right. It's a good question, but I think to Sean's point, directionally voters kind of find their party on this issue. And I think directionally Democrats are the ones that are moving closer to decriminalization, particularly in the states.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, thank you.
There's two issues, to be clear. There's the decriminalization issue, which does affect a lot of folks. And then the second issue is the banking issue, which is the commerce issue, which is probably why, what Schumer really cares about from a standpoint. So there's the economic issue is probably the driving thing that if I were looking to win over folks, I would focus on that one because that's a jobs issue.
Yeah. Thomas, tell everybody who doesn't know where you are, who you're supporting, and what's on your mind.
I'm in Oklahoma and I'm supporting Trump. So I was going to compliment the Harris campaign on the joy messaging. I just think that's extremely powerful. But I think the spot yesterday, the military spot, can also show a kind of crack in that messaging, which is it can be tone deaf. Yeah, yesterday was an anniversary of a national tragedy, and selfies and rock music and stuff. It hit the wrong note, and I think it can open up an attack as well. That it's more the job of the president to protect joy than to have joy.
Yeah. Thomas, that's a point I've heard from others. So thank you for making it.
And I think the Trump campaign could work on that.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win the election and why, Thomas?
Oh, right now, I think the electoral college map favors Trump, but I do think it's going to be a nail biter.
Yeah. And if President Trump asked you for advice, what would you tell him to do?
I would actually lean into this. I would say that he needs to lean into the protecting role. I'll have joy when when the war in Ukraine is over, when we have peace in the Middle East, when the border is secure, then I'll have earned some joy.
Sean, what do you think of that?
It's presumption.
What do you think of that message, you guys?
I mean, first of all, I think it's I think it's I don't know. I find it funny that the party of joy is all sorts of. I mean, it's attack, attack, attack. I mean, they sell you joy, and then behind the thing, they're like punching in the face.
Yeah, but what Thomas is saying is they say they're the party of joy, but they've presided over a lot of negative stuff. We got to earn our joy, right?
No, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, people want a president that's going to, as I've always said, it's about personal security and both economic and safety, like your personal security and your economic security. And so you can say, I will be happy when you are happy. And my goal is to get you there. And right now, too many Americans aren't in a place where that's possible. So I want to protect your streets, your communities. I want to make sure that your family, I mean, yes, I agree with you. Is the answer.
Tim, what do you think of that message?
That's a decent counterpunch. I want to get very quickly in the weeds. Thomas, do you think Trump's microphone should be on or off during the debate?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think he'd actually do better with it off. I think that the risk for him is that he will want to interrupt, and it always looks bad when you have a man interrupting a woman. The optics of that are terrible, and so yeah, off is better for him, I think.
Thomas, how'd you find the morning meeting?
Debate with Pence. You're exactly right. It just she will insert herself to say, I'm talking now. And regardless of what's happening, it will appear as though he's interrupting her. So yeah.
Thomas, how'd you find the morning meeting?
On YouTube, and you had, I think, 700 subscribers at the time. I slid in early.
All right. Thank you for being a pioneer. Thomas, thank you. And everybody who asked a question today, thank you for joining us. Tim is better. He's off the DL. Happy to have you back. I'll be back tonight, maybe 9 Eastern time. We'll let you know. We're still figuring that out. And then tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, same bad time, same bad channel, this cast of characters will once again convene all of America here to talk about the day ahead. It'll be a big day because we'll finally have presidential candidates actually in battleground states. Thanks, guys. See everybody tomorrow. And I'll see you later.